In just a few hours from now, U.S. President Donald Trump will hold a high-stakes summit with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. The two will discuss a ceasefire deal for Ukraine to help end the deadliest war in Europe since World War II. The fate of Ukraine hangs in the balance after over 3 years of war. The death toll is in the hundreds of thousands. Entire cities have been wiped off the map. And now, the front line is shifting again, with Russia mounting a dangerous new push on Donetsk. In this report, we break down the war in cold, hard numbers. Take a look.
Three years, hundreds of thousands of troops killed on both sides, and 20% of Ukrainian land captured by Russia. This war has been the deadliest in Europe since World War II, and specifically for Russia. 15 times deadlier than the Soviet-Afghan War, 10 times bloodier than Chechnya. The fighting has been fierce. 24,259 battles reported in just 1 week. 24,839 air and drone strikes. 16,716 shelling attacks, and dozens of civilian attacks. In July alone, 6,200 attack drones launched by Russia, part of what is being described as a grind-down strategy that is aimed at overwhelming Ukraine's relatively weaker air defenses. What these drone swarms do is clear the way for deadlier cruise missiles to be launched. Ukraine's deep strike drones continue to hit high-value targets inside Russia, but the front line keeps shifting. Pokrovsk, a key highway and rail hub in Donetsk, is now partially encircled by Russian troops. Ukraine has rushed reinforcements to hold the line, including the Azov Brigade. But it isn't enough to hold off the Russian advance. In August, Russian forces advanced 10 kilometers beyond the front lines in Donetsk, and more settlements in eastern Ukraine continue to fall to Russian hands each day. Russia now controls 114,500 square kilometers, that's about 20% of Ukraine. It holds almost all of Luhansk, 3/4 of Donetsk, and most of Zaporizhia and Kherson. Now it is pushing to seize the rest. On Russia's target, the so-called Fortress Belt, a 50-kilometer defensive chain of cities, including Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, and Konstantinivka, and the latest major Ukrainian stronghold in the east. Earlier in May, Russia seized 215 square miles of Ukrainian territory, its biggest land grab of the year. Over 3 years of war, and the toll is staggering. Russia's attacks have doubled since US President Donald Trump took office 6 months ago, and so has Russia's ballistic missile production, up 66% in a year. The war has also displaced 10 million Ukrainians. That's nearly a quarter of the entire country's population. Their future and the fate of the war is in the hands of the two leaders meeting in Alaska today. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And for more on this, we're now being joined by Laurie Townsend, Chief Editor and Senior Vice President of Journalism at Alaska Public Media, and he is joining us live from Anchorage in Alaska, where the high-stakes summit will take place in just a short while from now. First up, joining us live from Anchorage there in Alaska, what's the mood like there ahead of the high-stakes summit?
Well, hello from Anchorage, and I would say there's a lot of excitement in the city. There have been different gatherings. People have protested yesterday and today. Some Alaskans are very much supportive of Ukrainians, and so they have been protesting to show support for Ukraine and against Russia's war against Ukraine.
Right,
It's a little bit electric, the excitement today.
Right, absolutely, Ms. Townsend. Let's also talk about the expectations set ahead of the summit, with Trump saying 25% chances of failure. And in the latest, he said that he will go back home if the meeting does not end well. What are you expecting out of this high-stakes meet?
It is so difficult to know. President Trump has gone back and forth, from sometimes sounding like he is very supportive of Ukraine and wants to listen to Ukraine's president, Zelensky, but also he has vacillated back toward support for Russia at times, and says that Ukraine may have to make some decisions that are more difficult to end this war. And it does not sound like Ukraine is willing to cede any territory, and so it does call into question how these talks can go. It went from being kind of portrayed as a summit to try to end the war to now being called a listening session, so that Vladimir Putin and President Donald Trump will discuss things, and if it goes well, President Trump has said that possibly they would bring Zelensky in for more discussion. So it's difficult to say how this will happen. It's starting in about an hour and a half. We hope to know more this afternoon, depending on how long these talks go.